It was a dusty Tuesday afternoon at a forgotten gas station on Highway 17. The kind of place where the wind carries the smell of diesel and desperation. Jake Reaper Morrison, a towering man in his late 40s with a gray-streaked beard, scarred knuckles, and a black leather vest covered in Devil's Riders patches, was leaning against his rumbling Harley, filling the tank. 25 years with one of the most feared motorcycle clubs in the state had made him hard life, had carved deep lines into his face, and even deeper ones into his soul. He wasn't looking for trouble that day. He was just passing through. Then came the scream a high, piercing cry of pure terror that cut straight through the hum of engines and the distant highway noise. Jake's head snapped toward the convenience store. His instincts, sharpened by decades of bar fights, road wars, and close calls, told him this was real fear, not a tantra, not drama. Real danger. Before he could move, the glass door burst open, and a tiny girl no more than 7 years old came sprinting out. Blonde curls bounced wildly, her pink backpack flapping against her back, tears streaming down her flushed cheeks. She was running blindly, looking over her shoulder in panic, and she was heading straight for him. She skidded to a stop in front of Jake, grabbed his rough, tattooed hand with both of her tiny trembling ones, and looked up at him with wide, desperate blue eyes. "Mister, please act like you're my dad," she gasped between sobs, her voice breaking. "Please don't let him take me." Jake froze. In his entire life, no one had ever looked at him like he was salvation. People crossed the street when they saw him coming. Mothers clutched their kids tighter. Cops watched him like hawks. He was the monster in the stories, not the hero. Yet here was this little girl, clinging to him like he was the safest place in the world. He knelt down slightly, his massive frame casting a shadow over her. "Hey, kiddo, what's your name?" "Sophia," she whispered, pressing closer to his leg. He's not." "My dad. He took me from the playground. Said my mommy was hurt and he was supposed to bring me to her. But then he locked the car doors and wouldn't let me out. I waited until he stopped here for gas, and I ran." Jake's blood turned to ice. He glanced toward the store just as a man in his mid-30s stepped out, clean-cut, khaki pants, polo shirt, the kind of guy who blended into any crowd. But his eyes. Those eyes were cold, calculating, scanning the parking lot like a predator who'd lost his prey. The man spotted them. His gaze locked on Sophia hiding behind Jake's legs. A fake smile spread across his face as he started walking over. "Sophia, honey!" he called out, voice syrupy sweet. "There you are. You scared me half to death, running off like that. Come to daddy." Sophia's grip tightened until her little nails dug into Jake's skin. She was shaking so hard he could feel it through his jeans. Jake straightened up slowly, positioning his broad body like a wall between the girl and the approaching man. His voice came out low, gravelly, the kind of tone that made grown men back down. "She doesn't want to go with you, pal." The man stopped a few feet away, smile still plastered on, but his eyes flickered with annoyance. "Listen. This is a family matter. She's just throwing a tantrum because I wouldn't buy her ice cream. Kids, right?" Jake didn't blink. He'd spent years reading people-spotting lies in dive bars, during deals gone bad, in back alleys where one wrong read meant a knife in the ribs. This guy was lying. Every micro-movement screamed it. "Sophia," Jake said softly without turning around. "Is this your dad?" A tiny, terrified whisper. "No, I've never seen him before today." The man's smile faltered. "Look, buddy, I don't know who you think you are with that biker getup, but this doesn't concern you. Hand over my daughter." Now, Jake's free hand casually moved to his phone. "Tenju won't mind if I call the cops and let them sort it out?" The man's mask slipped completely. His hand darted toward his jacket pocket. Jake reacted on pure instinct, tears of muscle memory kicking in. He lunged forward, grabbed the man's wrist in an iron grip, and twisted hard. The man yelped in pain as a phone clattered to the concrete. Jake glanced down. The screen lit up for a split second before locking a messaging app open, the last text visible. Got a new one. Blonde, about 7. Playground pickup, successful. Meet at usual drop in 3 hours. Buyer already lined up. Jake's vision went red. In the outlaw world, there were rules even the worst followed. You didn't hurt kids, ever. That was the one line that would get every club in the country hunting you down. He tightened his grip until he felt bones creak. You move again, and I break it, he growled. Sophia, stay right behind me, sweetheart. The little girl was crying quietly now, but she didn't let go of his hand. Jake dialed a number with his thumb knot, 911. Not yet. He called someone who could get there faster than any cop. Bear, he said, when the line picked up. It's Reaper. Get the crew to the Shell station on Highway 17. Right now. We got a child snatcher, and he's part of something bigger. Sophia looked up at him, eyes wide. Are you really gonna help me? Jake looked down at her tear-streaked face and felt something crack inside his chest, something he thought had died years ago. Yeah, kid. I'm not letting anyone take you. I promise. In that moment, as the man struggled uselessly in his grip, and the distant roar of approaching Harleys began to fill the air, something changed in Jake forever. If you're feeling that chill right now, that spark of hope, that good still exists in unexpected places, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button for Road Motorcycle Diaries. We share real stories of courage, redemption, and the kindness that restores faith in humanity. Join the family. The first bikes pulled into the lot. Minutes later, 6 massive Harleys, ridden by men who looked like they'd walked straight out of a nightmare. But Sophia didn't flinch. She squeezed Jake's hand tighter, trusting him completely. Bear, the club's VP, a giant with a long red beard and arms like bridge cables, swung off his bike first. He took one look at the situation, and his face darkened. This him? Bear asked, voice like thunder. Jake nodded toward the phone on the ground. Check it. Bear picked it up, unlocked it with a man's forced thumbprint, and scrolled, his jaw clenched tighter with every message. Jesus Christ, Reaper. This ain't just one sick bastard. This is a whole network. Sophia tugged on Jake's vest. Mister, I'm scared. Jake knelt down again, his rough voice softening in a way even he didn't recognize. I know, sweetheart, but you're safe now. These are my brothers. They're the good kind of scary. But as the club gathered around and the truth of how deep this evil went started to unfold, Jake realized this wasn't going to end at a gas station. What happens when these outlaw bikers decide to take down an entire trafficking ring will leave you speechless. The abandoned warehouse on the edge of the industrial district smelled like rust, oil, and pure Abil. Jake Reaper Morrison rolled up with 6 of his Devil's Riders brothers, their Harleys growling low as they killed the engines under the flickering streetlight. It was just past midnight. 2 hours after the scheduled drop, the trafficker had been heading to. Jake's heart was pounding harder than it had in any bar fight or high-speed chase. He wasn't scared for himself. He'd faced death plenty of times, but tonight, 12 innocent lives were waiting inside those walls. Bear and the others fanned out, naturally, looking every bit the dangerous outlaws they were. Leather cuts, scarred arms, faces that made people look away on the street. But tonight, those same faces carried something new, fury mixed with purpose. 3 men stood outside the warehouse door, smoking nervously. When they saw the bikes and the patches, they relaxed a fraction. Criminals recognized criminals. One stepped forward. You're late, he said, trying to sound tough. Jake dismounted slowly, letting his boots hit the gravel hard. Had to make sure the road was clean. You got the product? The word tasted like bile in his mouth, but he kept his voice flat, cold, the way he'd learned to do during deals gone wrong over the years. The man eyed the group, was expecting one buyer, not a whole crew. My brothers go where I go, Jake said, stepping closer. Problem. After a tense beat, the man shook his head. No problem. Come inside. They were led through a side door into the main bay. The sight hit Jake like a fist to the gut. 12 children ages 5 to 12 sat, huddled on dirty blankets against the far wall. Some cried silently. Others stared blankly, already broken. A few held each other. All of them looked small, fragile, and utterly terrified. Armed guards stood nearby. Casual, like this was just another Tuesday. Jake's hands clenched into fists so tight his knuckles cracked. Bear, beside him, let out a low growl that only the brothers could hear. One of the traffickers, a thin man with slick back, here walked over with a tablet. We've got fresh stock, all clean, no priors. Quiet types, mostly. You pick, we price. Transfer happens, you leave with your choice. Simple. He said it like he was selling used cars. Jake forced himself to look at the tablet, scrolling through photos like 12 photos of the kids with ages, heights, and notes like compliant or needs breaking in. His stomach turned. How much for the blonde one in the pink jacket? Jake asked, nodding towards Sophia's description from earlier that day. The man smiled. Popular type. Shiranyo. Jake cut him off. Actually, he said, voice dropping to a deadly whisper, I've got a better deal. You all get on the ground right now, or my brothers and I make sure none of you ever stand up again. The smile vanished. You a cop? Worse, Jake said. I'm a father tonight. That's when hell broke loose, but not the way the traffickers expected. Jake pressed a hidden button on his phone. The signal? Every door of the warehouse exploded inward at once. Flashbangs popped. Red dots danced across chests. State police tactical teams poured in, shouting, State police! Hands up! On the ground, now. 2 traffickers reached for weapons. Bear moved like lightning, disarming one with a brutal elbow to the face. Another brother tackled the second before he could fire. Within 20 seconds, the room was secured. Jake didn't wait. He ran straight to the children, dropping to his knees so he wouldn't tower over them. Hey, it's okay now, he said softly, voice cracking for the first time in years. My name's Jake. The police are here to take you home. Yo, ure, safe. I promise you're safe. A little boy with messy brown hair looked up at him, eyes wide. Are you one of the bad men? Jake swallowed hard. Not tonight, buddy. Not ever again when it comes to kids like you. One by one, the children were wrapped in blankets, checked by medics, and led out to waiting ambulances. Parents were already being called. Reunions would happen soon. Outside, Detective Elena Ramirez, the officer Jake had contacted earlier, approached him. She'd worked organized crime for 18 years and had arrested more than a few devil-esque riders over the decades. Now, she looked at Jake with something close to respect. You shouldn't have been here, Reaper, she said quietly. I know. This goes sideways. I can't protect you. I know that too. She sighed, then extended her hand. Then off the record. Thank you. We've been trying to crack this ring for 2 years. You just handed us everything. Jake shook a hand. Just get them all. Every last one. We will, because of what you did tonight. As the last child was carried out, Sophia, the little girl from the gas station, spotted Jake from across the lot. She was already with her mother, safe and wrapped in a blanket, but she pulled away and ran to him. She crashed into his legs and hugged him tight. You came. Urea came. Jake knelt down, letting her bury her face in his vest. Told you I would, kiddo. You were so brave. Her mom approached, tears flowing freely. I don't know how to ever repay you. You don't, Jake said. Just love her fierce every day. That night changed everything. Back at the clubhouse, the air was thick. Every member in the region showed up. The room was silent as Jake stood in front of them. "We all know who we are," he began. "We've done things we can't wash off. We live in the gray, but tonight we saw real evil. And we stopped it. Not for money, not for territory, because it was right." He held up printouts of the children's photos rescued, smiling in hospital beds. "These kids are going home because we didn't look away." A few members shifted uncomfortably. One spoke up. "So what now, Reaper? We going straight?" "No," Jake said firmly. "We're still us, but from this day forward, anyone who touches a child in our territory answers to the Devil's Riders. We have eyes everywhere. We hear things cops don't. We use that. We protect the ones who can't protect themselves." Bear stood. "I lost a niece 10 years ago. Never found her. If this stops one more family from feeling that pain, I'm in." One by one, hands went up around the room. Not all, but enough. The message was clear. The club had a new code. If you're feeling that fire in your chest right now, the belief that one moment of courage can change everything, then smash that like button. Hit subscribe to Road Motorcycle Diaries and turn on notifications. We bring you real stories of redemption, bravery, and the good that lives in unexpected hearts. Join thousands who believe humanity is still worth fighting for. And don't go anywhere. Story isn't over yet. What happens when these outlaws start getting calls from desperate parents will shock you in the best way. It all began with one terrified little girl in a dusty gas station parking lot, whispering the words that would change everything. "Please act like you're my dad." 18 months later, Jake Reaper Morrison stood in the middle of a bright community center on the south side of town, the same neighborhood where the Devil's Riders clubhouse once stood as a symbol of fear. Now, half the building had been transformed. Fresh paint on the walls, new basketball hoops outside, classrooms filled with kids laughing after school. The club had paid for it all. Quietly, no plaques, no credit. Jake leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching Sophia, the same blonde girl who had grabbed his hand that fateful day run across the gym with a group of friends. She was 8 now, taller, with a confident smile that made his chest tighten every time he saw it. She spotted him and waved wildly. "Jake, look, I made the team," she shouted, holding up a soccer jersey. He gave her a thumbs up and a rare, genuine smile. "Knew you would, kiddo. Go show him how it's done." Sophia's mom, Maria, walked over and stood beside him. "She talks about you all the time. You know, calls you her guardian angel, even if you ride a Harley instead of having wings." Jake chuckled softly, uncomfortable with the praise. As always, she saved herself that day. "Maria, I just didn't walk away." Maria shook her head. "You did more than that. You gave her and a lot of other kids a future." Since that night at the warehouse, everything had shifted. The raid had led to 24 arrests across 3 states. The entire trafficking network was dismantled. Buyers, handlers, recruiters, all of them. Dozens of children went home. Some stories made the news. Most didn't. But every single one mattered. Word spread quietly through desperate parents. If the police were moving too slow, if the system said wait 24 hours, there was another number they could call. Detective Elena Ramirez passed it carefully only to families she trusted. And when that phone rang, Jake unsweated. A missing boy lured online, found in a motel before anything irreversible happened. Twin sisters taken from a mall parking lot, tracked and returned within hours. A teenager running from abuse, caught by recruiters, pulled out of a van on the highway. Every time, the roar of Harleys filled the night. Once that sound meant danger, intimidation, Now, for certain families, it meant hope was coming. The club never went fully straight. They still rode the gray edges of the world. Some things don't change overnight. But the code was ironclad. Children were untouchable. Any predator operating in their territory was hunted. Not for glory. Not for thanks. Just because it was right. Inside the clubhouse, one wall was different now. No more just photos of bikes and brothers. There was a bulletin board covered in pictures smiling kids at graduations, birthdays, first days of school. At the very center, Sophia, on the day she was rescued, holding Jake's hand, looking up at him like he was 10 feet tall. Underneath, in simple letters, "We don't walk away." Bear walked up beside Jake one evening, looking at the board. "Never thought I'd live to see this, Reaper." "Me neither," Jake said quietly. "But you know what? It feels better than any deal we ever closed." Bear nodded. "My niece, the one we lost years ago. I like to think someone like us was there for her, even if they weren't." Jake put a hand on his old friend's shoulder. "Now we make sure no one else has to wonder." That afternoon, Jake's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Answer. A woman's voice, shaking. "Mr. Morrison, my name is Laura. My daughter Emma went missing this morning after school. The police are looking, but they said there's no sign of force. I can't wait. I heard you help." Jake was already reaching for his keys. "Tell me everything you know. I'm on my way." He stepped outside, for Harleys were already waiting there, Ghost, Hammer, and Prospect. Engines fired up in perfect sync. As they pulled out onto the highway, the thunder of their bikes rolled across the city. People still looked. Some still crossed the street, but in certain windows, certain mothers watching from porches, that sound brought tears of relief. Because sometimes the scariest-looking men turn out to be the fiercest protectors. Sometimes redemption doesn't mean erasing who you were. It means choosing who you're going to be from this moment forward. And sometimes all it takes is one little girl trusting you enough to say, "Please act like you're my dad," to remind you that no matter how dark your past, you can still be someone's light. Jake glanced in his mirror at his brothers riding behind him, outlaws with a new purpose. He smiled under his helmet. The road stretched ahead, and for the first time in decades, Jake Reaper Morrison knew exactly where he was going. If this story moved you, if it restored even a little of your faith in humanity, in second chances, in the power of one person choosing not to walk away, then please do this for me right now. Hit that like button. Drop a comment below, telling me, would you have done the same in Jake's shoes? And if you haven't already, subscribe to Road Motorcycle Diaries and turn on notifications. We're here every week sharing true stories of courage, kindness, and redemption that prove good still wins. Join the ride. You won't regret it. Thank you for being here until the end. See you in the next one.